Where's that presentation you need for your boss? Slack? Email? Drive? Lost, like your sanity, after wasting hours searching 76 tabs. Your work tools shouldn't take so much work. Dropbox Dash finds what you need fast across all your work apps, so you can focus on what matters. Spend less time searching, more time creating. Learn more at dropbox.com/dash.
The Dick Morris Show. Entertaining and informative. On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
So, Sam Phillips has a thought that we should share today. This is the Dick Morris and Doug DePiro Show, sponsored by the Patriot Gold Group.
All right, get it together there.
Let's go look. Sam Phillips.
Sam Phillips.
Okay.
I think he said, not so fast.
The song was Not So Fast by Sam Phillips.
Uh-huh.
Everybody's been saying that Mamdani has this wrapped up.
No way.
That this is set, that this is in the bag. And that is not true. I believe that ultimately Chris Sliwa will be the next mayor of New York.
Curtis Sliwa
will be the next mayor of New York. The most recent poll by Harris-X, which is a reliable firm, it's headed by Mark Penn, who used to be my associate with Bill Clinton, and it has Mamdani at 26, down 14. Sliwa at 22, up 8. Cuomo at 24, down 1. And Adams at 15, up 2. So Cuomo and Adams have not moved much at all. But Mamdani has lost 14 points.
That's a lot.
And Sliwa has gained 8 points.
That's great.
Closing 22 points of the gap.
I've been saying he's got something.
You have
to
been
go.
saying that, Doug. Ever since the primary, you've been saying that.
Yeah.
Before the primary.
Because I realized, the New York voters don't like that Adams was in bed with, Trump with the sanctuary city thing and pulling people out, right? They didn't like that. They're not going to like him because they're going to lose votes there. Cuomo, forget about that piece of garbage, what he did with the nursing homes and all of that.
And it's also just been New York City taxpayers, not Cuomo.
Right.
Taxpayers have been hit, having to pay $450,000 for his fooling around with his aide. So he doesn't have to pay. The aide doesn't have to pay, but we have to pay.
Yeah, right. So then with Mamdani, which I want to call him, Mamdani, I wasn't 100% sure, but I had to realize that between Cuomo is not going to get a vote, Adams because of his situation, Mamdani, can't even say it. I just felt that once people understand this guy is such a radical.
Well, he's suddenly vulnerable in his bid to become New York's first overtly socialist mayor. The latest polling from Harris-X, a highly reliable firm, suggests the race is essentially tied among Mamdani, Andrew Cuomo, and Republican candidate Curtis Sliwa. According to Harris-X, Mamdani at 26% is tied with Cuomo at 23% and Sliwa at 22%, all within the margin of error.
Right.
Adams is at 13%, way down, and 15% of the voters are undecided. This Harris-X poll sampled 585 likely general election voters in New York City, July 7th to 8th. The poll is notable in that it reflects big gains by Republican candidate Curtis Sliwa and slippage among both Cuomo and the incumbent mayor Eric Adams. While conventional wisdom holds that a Republican cannot win in New York City, the three-way fracturing of the Democratic vote among Mamdani, Cuomo, and Adams now makes Sliwa victory a real possibility. Cuomo largely lost the Democratic Party to Mamdani because of voter anger at his genocidal policies during the pandemic. Mamdani wants to say that people loved his free stuff and his socialist program, but that wasn't it. It was that people couldn't stand Cuomo. Right. When he forced COVID patients out of hospitals and into nursing homes where the disease spread to 6,000 people, causing their death. Adams, for his part, has never done well in polling, and he had to drop out of the Democratic primary as a result. His failure to rally significant support from black voters, despite being only the second African-American mayor in New York's history, shows his vulnerability. So Sliwa has a chance. In the publicly funded race, Sliwa was not likely to face fundamental financial problems that normally hobble Republican candidates. His background as a crime fighter, the founder of Guardian Angels, a nonprofit crime prevention organization, makes him an attractive candidate in a race where crime is the leading issue. And you know the story. On June 19th, 1992...
The cab story?
Sliwa was kidnapped and shot by two gunmen after entering a stolen taxi in Manhattan. The taxi picked up Sliwa near his home in the East Village, and a gunman hiding in the front passenger seat jumped up and fired several shots, hitting him in the groin and legs. The kidnapping was foiled when Sliwa leaped from the front window of the moving cab and escapes. Sliwa underwent surgery for internal injuries and leg wounds. Federal prosecutors eventually charged John A. Gotti, the son of the Gambino crime family leader John Gotti, with attempted murder, claiming that Gotti was angered by remarks Sliwa made about Gotti's father on the radio program. Mamdani has been dogged by charges of anti-Semitism and recently forced to clarify his remarks, calling for a total global infanada against Jews. Liz Benjamin, a spokesman for the pro-Cuomo PAC, Fix the City, said when you strip away his Hollywood tinsel, what you realize that Mr. Mamdani has repeatedly embraced the rhetoric of hate. It's far past time for him to disavow his own calls to globalize the Intifada, which many understand is an invitation to violence.
This is part of the caliphate, is what this is.
Mamdani's campaign is centered around socialist proposals such as free bus fare, no rent increases, legalized sex work, and a ban on immigration law enforcement in the city. While the Democratic base can still rally to Mamdani, his antagonism of the Jewish vote makes it less likely. So they're not going to vote for Mamdani. They've already 40% of his support has eroded since July 1st.
Right, down to 26.
It takes talent when nobody else is on TV to lose 40% of your vote in 3 weeks.
So the honeymoon is over, basically.
Well, more than the honeymoon, the marriage is over.
The marriage is over.
And it means that Sliwa is the only one who's moved up.
And you know what it is with Curtis?
He's gone up 8 points.
You know what it is with Curtis? He's a street smart, street strong type of guy. He becomes mayor. He's going to put all the right people in his administration to do what Rudy did. You know what I mean? He's not Rudy Giuliani, but it doesn't matter. He's a tough guy. He's strong. He loves this city. He's going to do what he has to do, and he's not going to worry about they're going to call him names and all the stuff they do, because they already called him names.
And the basic name that people have been calling Sliwa is loser.
He's no loser.
That the Republican can't win the primary. And
Bull.
Trotsky, the communist leader, said that which is impossible remains impossible until it becomes inevitable.
Right. He's going to win.
And he's going to win. The only reason he's not is people don't believe he's going to win.
Exactly.
But Mamdani's not going to win. Cuomo can't win. Adams has already lost. And basically, Sliwa is what's left.
And we need a strong guy, like I always say to General Flynn when I talk to him. I go, we need you on that wall from the Few Good Men. I'm saying that about Curtis now. We need you on that wall because he's the tough guy that's going to say, shut up. You can't do this. Get the homeless off.
He's also the only candidate who's not accused of genocide.
Oh, my God.
Is not a failed mayor.
Right.
And
it's not a communist, socialist,
a racist, and a Hamas supporter.
And looking for a caliphate in New York. He's going to win.
Not to
get off the story?
No, but to increase Cuomo's popularity in New York State taxpayers are now having to shell out $450,000. So we have to pay for Cuomo's sexual harassment of an aide.
Ridiculous.
The Dick Morris Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dick Morris Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The only reason Cuomo's sorry is that he's going to lose the mayoralty. New York State on Friday agreed to pay $450,000 to Brittany Commisso, right, a former aide to Cuomo who accused him of groping and subjecting her to the persistent sexual harassment on the job at the governor's office. Lawyers for Commisso called the settlement with Governor Kathy Hochul's office. So a Democratic governor did this while Cuomo was trying to be the Democratic candidate.
Wow.
She called it a complete vindication of her claims against Cuomo. Just as repeated findings made by the Attorney General, the State Assembly, and the Justice Department were, those three independent investigations all found that Cuomo subjected Brittany to unwanted sexual harassment and groping when she worked as his assistant. Ms. Commisso is proud to have reported the truth and be vindicated by her rights in court. But this means that we are going to have to shell out $500,000 to pay for Cuomo's groping this lady.
For the creep.
And at the same time, this creep wants us to elect him governor.
Yeah, right. And after what he did with
And we're not going to do that. And he opened the door for Mamdani by winning the Democratic primary, but mainly Mamdani lost it. And now Adams is down, Mamdani is down, Cuomo is down, and the only one who's up is Curtis Sliwa.
You know, if Mamdani wins, man, that would be the end of New York.
Yeah.
You know, all the landlords would get out. The government would own the buildings.
Yeah. I mean, he's this wonderful program for ending homelessness. Don't raise rents so landlords leave New York and nobody builds new buildings.
And no one wants to live here anymore.
It's a great
They'd be
way
going
to do that.
in this middle of the street.
But voters are getting that. They're understanding it. The 3 or 4 weeks since the primary have been filled with information about Mamdani. And the voters are buying it. They're listening. They're paying attention. And they've switched off of Mamdani. And who are they switching to? They're not going to Adams, who they don't like as mayor.
Yeah.
They're not going to Cuomo because they hate the nursing home stuff and the
whole
sexual
thing.
harassment.
Sure.
And they're coming off of Mamdani. And the one that's left is Curtis Sliwa.
Now, I know this is irrelevant because I believe Curtis is going to win. But let's just talk about for a second. We only have a minute left. The governorship, let's say a Republican governor, Mike Lawler or Stefanik, what can they do to the mayor? If they don't like the mayor, they could actually replace the mayor?
Yeah. The mayor of New York City can be replaced by the governor of New York.
Wow.
It happened with FDR.
And no election, nothing. They could just pick.
Just from out to the lieutenant governor.
Wow.
That's how Spitzer became, was ousted.
Elliot Spitzer.
And that's how opened the door for Cuomo.
Right.
And so they can do that. But we're not going to have to rely on that.
That's right.
Mamdani is going to lose.
Right. Sliwa's in, baby.
No, he's not in. But once people begin to turn off them, and they are already turned off the other three candidates, Sliwa's what's left. Sliwa's what's left.
I think he's going to win. I don't care. He's in. I don't care. That's what I'm going to say.
When we come back, Mamdani calls for the abolition of private property. Oh, really?
Isn't that great?
The Dick Morris Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dick Morris Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hello, Dick Morris. What show is this?
Welcome back to the Dick Morris and Doug DePiro Show, sponsored by the Patriot Gold Group. Mamdani is being slammed for advocating the abolition of private property in a recently resurfaced video as part of his campaign for mayor. Mamdani said, and I'm quoting him now, "My platform is that every single person should have housing. And I think faced with these two options, the system has hundreds of thousands of people unhoused, right? For what? If there was any system that would guarantee each person housing, whether you call it the abolition of private property, you call it a statewide housing guarantee, it's preferable to what's going on right now."
And he used the word abolition.
Yeah, okay, idiot. So if we tell landlords they can't raise rents, and we tell current owners that their rents are frozen, even though the city is determined that costs are going up by about 8 or 10% a year. You're going to have more housing. Yeah, you'll have cheap housing for a couple of hours until everybody pulls out of New York and they stop building. And you'll screw up the real estate tax base of New York, which means no decent schools, nothing happens. This guy is an absolute genius.
Yeah, but it's free.
Yeah, it's like free bus fare, but the bus never comes.
Flat
It's
tires
like
on the
free convenience stores, but they're inconvenient.
Inconvenience stores. That's
Right.
good.
It's always been with the socialist. They sell the joy of sex, and we remind people of the fear of pregnancy.
And like Margaret Thatcher said, it's all great until somebody runs out of money.
Yeah, well, she said, eventually you run out of other people's money.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Now, to turn to a more positive subject.
Oh, this is great. We've all been waiting for this.
Yeah, this is what we've all been waiting for. Tulsi Gabbard, who is the director of national intelligence, confirms that Obama led an anti-Trump coup d'etat.
Wow. You ain't kidding. Oh, I love this. Can you see Obama in court and the left freaking? How could you do this to a former president, right? I could see it right now.
A report released by Tulsi Gabbard in her official capacity as Director of National Intelligence proves once and for all that President Barack Obama orchestrated the coup, against an incoming president of the United States.
Wow.
These documents detail a treasonous conspiracy by officials at the highest level of the Obama White House to subvert the will of the American people and try to usurp the president from filling his mandate, Gabbard wrote. Not only did the documents demonstrate the intelligence community did not believe Russia could or did interfere in the 2016 election, Gabbard's report disclosed that an important 24-hour period where ex-FBI Director James Comey suddenly parted ways with his intel colleagues, who at the time were preparing a president's daily brief indicating that the Russians did not meddle in the election. Comey told the briefing participants to remove the FBI seal from the documents and said the FBI will be drafting a dissent soon. The next day, on December 9th, 2016, after Obama won the election, but before he took office, President Obama assembled his top advisors, co-conspirators, including Comey, CIA Director John Brennan, National Security Advisor Susan Rice, and Homeland Security Advisor Lisa Monaco, the future list of defendants, in a 2-hour principals meeting at the White House. This is the same day that Obama apparatchiks started leaking false intelligence information to the Washington Post and other outlets. They leaked, quote, the CIA has concluded in a secret assessment that Russia intervened in the 2016 election to help Donald Trump win, rather than to just undermine confidence in the electoral system, the Post reported. But one of Obama's top loyalists already set the media wheels in motion. During breakfast hosted by the Christian Science Monitor and attended by Washington's top political and national security reporters, Monaco publicly disclosed Obama had ordered an intelligence assessment into Russia's role in the election. The Russian intelligence community assessment was jointly released on January 6, 2017. CIA Director John Ratcliffe recently conducted his own review of the thing, largely authorized by Brennan, and concluded he likely committed perjury relating to his own sworn statements about relying on the Steele dossier.
Wow.
Comey and the Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, then traveled to Trump Tower in Manhattan that afternoon to warn Trump that a Russian compromise including the so-called P tape by hookers peeing on Trump, which was contained in the dossier. Comey had apparently used the dossier already to successfully seek FISA warrants just to wiretap the Trump campaign.
Unbelievable.
It proves that Trump once and for all orchestrated the coup. Not only did the documents demonstrate that the CIA did not believe that Trump was behind the Russian disinformation stuff. But they released it anyway.
And Obama knew it also, and so did Comey.
Obama orchestrated it.
Orchestrated. But let me tell you, I spoke to General Flynn this morning, and we went back and forth about this. You know, I asked him to be on. He couldn't do it. He said that the DOJ should right now put together a federal law enforcement task force to look into these guys.
No, he doesn't need that. He has the DNI, who gave this information, go straight to a grand jury, man.
Yeah?
You have enough to indict Obama, Hillary, Clapper, Brennan,
I'd
all
love
of those
them.
guys.
Orange suits, baby.
You have enough
and
to
here's
go
the
after
other
every
thing
one of them.
Flynn said, General Flynn said, he thinks that all their passports should be revoked because they're going to look into this and go, whoa, I got to go.
Obama's going to find the Swiss mountains ideal for his health.
Indonesia.
Yeah, look, the basic point here is that after Trump won the election,
Right.
the intelligence operatives all decided that what they had to do was to overturn this election. And the way they did that was to fabricate this notion that was born in Hillary Clinton's campaign by a dossier her campaign paid for that claimed that Russia had influenced the election. And Russia denied it. The intelligence community denied it. But the intelligence people included it in a briefing to Obama, and that then made it possible for Obama to go ahead and release that information.
Wow.
And it's terrible, and it started this whole Russia thing that consumed the first
and
6
Adam
months
Schiff
of the presidency.
for Brains is on this also. They didn't mention it,
Yeah.
but he's going to get himself in a little bit of a pickle too. I think it was Steele and his girlfriend had an email that said, "This is our insurance policy."
Not Steele, but
one of the
guy, yeah.
whatever, with his girlfriend.
Yeah.
This is our insurance policy to make sure Trump
Strzok
never
said
sits.
that, yeah.
Right.
So, going back to the home front, ICE has decided to hold no more detainees and to hold the detainees and have no more releases.
So we got Kenny Rogers' little song. Illegal immigrants will no longer be set free as they fight possible deportation, according to the new report. The Washington Post cited a couple days ago a memo from Todd Lyons, acting director of immigration enforcement, said the agency seeks to detain illegal immigrants for the duration of their removal proceedings. Currently, illegal immigrants can request a bond hearing in front of an immigration judge. This can result in their release. Lyons said the Department of Homeland Security and Justice revisited its legal position on detention and release authorities and decided anyone entering the U.S. illegally may not be released from the ICE custody. Customs and Border Protection will also follow the policy, the Post reported. Excuse me. The Post reported said that this will apply to illegal immigrants already in the U.S. and departure from the past practices in which only those caught after media crossing borders would be detained. So they all could be detained no matter who they grab.
So where are we going to look for them? We can't look for them in colleges anymore because Trump has ended free tuition for illegals.
Right, right. So the Department of Education has revoked a rule that was a nice little segue there, Dick Morris. They have revoked a rule that allowed illegal immigrants to access taxpayer funds for technical and career schools. Post-secondary education programs funded by the federal government should benefit American citizens, not illegal aliens. The Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, who I love, said in a statement, under President Trump's leadership, hardworking American taxpayers will no longer foot the bill for illegal aliens to participate in our career, technical, or adult education programs or activities. She added the department will ensure that taxpayer funds are reserved for citizens and individuals who have entered the country through legal means who meet federal eligibility criteria. A previous executive order from President Trump ended taxpayer subsidies for illegal immigrants. About time, huh? The rule was originally enacted by then President Bill Clinton in 1997 following the Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Act, a 1996 law which barred illegal immigrants from receiving health benefits. Clinton said post-secondary programs should be exempt from the rule. But Trump Department of Education disagreed, claiming Clinton's mischaracterized the law by creating artificial distinctions between federal benefit programs based upon the method of assistance.
Yeah.
So, go on.
So, the next story I want to talk about is fundamental. In recent years, the BRICS bloc, which comprises Brazil, India, Russia, China, South Africa, Egypt, Ethiopia, the United Arab Emirates, Indonesia, and Iran.
That's a lot of places.
Has positioned itself as a counterweight to Western economic dominance, specifically the United States. After a formal addition of Iran, Ethiopia, and the UAE in 2024, there is undeniable and emergent command of the world's resources, population, and a large portion of the GDP. But beyond the significant symbolism of global South cooperation lies ahead the more substantive effort, which is derived toward de-dollarization and challenging the U.S. dollar's supremacy. The development's profound implication for both global capitalism and the domestic economy of the United States. Since its inception, BRICS has functioned as a platform through which nations outside of the West could articulate their rejection of global economic order built around the IMF and the World Bank, which often impose policies on developing nations through structural adjustment programs and conditional debt relief. Instead of relying on these institutions, BRICS members have pushed for multipolarity, alternatives to dollar dependency. Unfortunately, they don't accompany this with any money. The dollar is long
So
served.
then how do they do that?
Well, they talk about it a lot.
They talk about
Yeah.
it.
The dollar has long served since it is the linchpin of U.S. global economic power, underpinning everything from the petrodollar system to the international reserves in countries like Japan. This hegemony has allowed the U.S. to impose extracurricular sanctions, run persistent deficits, fund its war machine with relative impunity. Russia and China, two of the most geopolitically assertive BRICS members and founders really of BRICS, have accelerated efforts to conduct trade in local currencies, especially in energy markets, which threatens to bring this impunity to an end. By 22, 70% of Russia-China trade was conducted in rubles and yuan,
70%.
not in dollars. And similarly, India has begun purchasing Russian oil in rupees and is even negotiating similar currency arrangements. Now,
Rupee's not gold. That's a ruble.
Now, what the United States has done is Trump has said, okay, feel free to use any currency you want. We want you to use the dollar, but if you don't use the dollar, you just can't sell anything to the United States. So if you want to import your products to the United States, you have to pay for them in dollars. And if you give us a local currency, we're not going to take it. So,
And then you're going to get hit with a tariff of
and then
solid
we're going to tariff you
25%.
25%,
Of everything.
and you got to pay that.
So
So
people
he's
gonna say-
crippled BRICS in this amazing way. Now, should BRICS-led de-dollarization gain momentum, the privilege would be curtailed. Demand for U.S. treasuries could fall, leading to higher interest rates, and the cost of imports would rise, feeding domestic inflation. But when Trump goes around telling these countries that if you do de-dollarize, you can conduct all the local transactions you want in rupees or anything else you want, but you can't sell your products to the United States. And Africa, which is well along the road to de-dollarization, would not be able to import $40 billion of products into the U.S. every year because they would want to pay for it in local currencies.
So if this works out the way Trump thinks it will, and we spoke to him last night about this, that dollar will get strong again in Africa.
Yeah, I talked to Trump last night, and I said, you got to do something about these BRICS countries. They're trying to take over the dollar.
Right.
And he said, oh, look, I'm really relaxed about it. If they want to trade in something other than dollars, be my guest, but you're not going to be able to sell your products to the United States. And if you do, we're going to put a 25% tariff on you. And that is stopping
And
them
then
dead in their
off the
tracks.
phone, we started to talk about it, and I said, that's going to strengthen the dollar in Africa. Like
Yeah.
we were worried about
Yeah.
the banks in Africa.
all over the place.
Anti-dollar, right.
Because they'll need dollars, because otherwise how they can import anything.
Because we're
into
the top
United
dog,
States.
right? We're
Yeah.
the top dog on top of the
We're
hill.
the only dog.
Yeah. A Rottweiler.
When we come back, we have time for one more?
No.
When we come back, we'll talk about how the U.S. did destroy Iran's nukes, but there were some that are left and tougher sanctions are coming.
The Dick Morris Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dick Morris Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
So check this out. High school graduation in America's public schools has risen from 70% to 85% since 2000, while SAT scores have dropped from 1,150 to 1,000. So basically, we have more dunderheads among us.
They're graduating, but they don't know a damn thing.
And they don't know why they graduated.
Yeah,
They just,
that's
mommy paid someone off.
Unbelievable.
How could that possibly be?
You go along.
The standards
You go
are just
along in
lower.
Manhattan, and you see these. You see every June these wonderful, optimistic kids in blue outfits.
Oh, yeah.
Celebrating their graduation with hats on.
And don't know where to
everything.
go.
And you realize that they're graduating, so their parents think, "Oh wow, we put them through high school." The fact is that they don't know a damn thing.
Yeah, right.
And they can't be employed.
The lights are on, but no one's home.
That's right.
Pretty much.
Now, drones are increasingly dominating the battlefield.
I love this.
Doug has a story here about a total change in the U.S. weapons against drones.
Epirus Inc., a defense technology startup based in California, has unveiled the Leonidas, that's how I'm going to say this, Leonidas system, a high-powered microwave weapon designed to neutralize unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs. This innovative system emits electromagnetic pulse to disable drones individually or across a broad area, offering a scalable solution to counter-drone threats. The Leonidas system has been likened to a Star Trek-style shield due to its ability to disable or destroy drones within seconds. Beyond its counter-drone capabilities, the Leonidas system versatility allows it to disable electronic ground vehicles and sea vessels. That's important right there. This is not just for these little 5-inch little drones. This is for ground vehicles and sea vessels, demonstrating its potential across various defenses. In the rapidly evolving landscape of modern warfare, unmanned aerial systems, UAS, have emerged as a significant and multifaceted threat. Due to their high operation cost and limited ammunition capacity, traditional defense mechanisms such as missiles or even anti-aircraft guns struggle to keep pace with these agile, numerous, and often low-cost adversities. This system addresses these challenges through directed energy technology, allowing for rapid, reusable, and cost-effective simultaneous engagement on multiple threats.
So what the enemy is doing in these wars is they're sending over not just drones, but thousands of drones, tens of thousands of drones, filling the skies with them. And it's just too much to shoot down one at a time. So this
They're
is
messing up the system,
We
the
press
signal.
a button, and the whole signal collapses,
And
and,
they probably
all of
just
them fall back to earth.
And then we pick them up and and tune
that's
them
right.
up so they
and
can't.
we make them toys for kids.
No, we tune them up and make them better. Like
right.
What's his name?
Now, all of this
The tool
takes
man.
rare earth minerals because rare earth minerals powers most of our electronic systems.
Mm-hmm.
And tech giant Apple is backing Trump in a push for rare earth minerals and is expected to announce a $500 million investment in the only rare earth mine currently operating in the United States.
That's good. Where'd you find that song, Dick?
It's a Beatles song.
I know, but
Apple plans to invest $500 million in the Las Vegas-based rare earth mining company, MP Minerals. The White House, meanwhile, is calling the deal a major win for the Trump administration, a huge win for the president as he sought to make this issue a priority. Apple deserves a lot of credit for stepping up. It's good for the country, good for American workers, and it'll prove to be good business, too. The deal also includes building a new recycling facility in Mountain Pass, California, which will reportedly reprocess materials from used electronics to be used in future Apple products. This is the most incredible story of government overregulation. The United States was the only country that saw any value in rare earth minerals, and we had a total global monopoly of it. And we basically got the rare earths from a mine on the Nevada-California border in Mountain Pass, California, where they dug this stuff up. But they dug it up and they found that the rare earth minerals were always adjacent to radioactive material.
Uranium.
Mm-hmm. They were companion.
And Biden did not like that.
And so the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, the same guys who let Iran develop a bomb,
Right.
Announced
Stop us, but let Iran.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Announced that they're going to they're going to stop rare earth mineral mining and subject to regulation by the IAEA. Not that the stuff is radioactive, but that it's found near products that are radioactive. And based on that, the cost of producing rare earth minerals, recycling them and finding them, rose so dramatically that all the American companies went broke.
They couldn't make any money.
And they moved to China. And the only place that continued with rare earth minerals was China.
Do you think China cares about that uranium that they're...
no, because they're not even members of the IAEA.
And they're going to use their uranium, send it to Russia.
That's right. That's right.
And Iran.
In the meantime, to go from the sublime to the ridiculous, Grassley outlines the Secret Service failings at Butler.
The Secret Service was woefully unprepared when the government opened fire on the president in Pennsylvania, with major breakdowns in communications of threats, inadequate training, and a denial of multiple requests for key security resources, according to a pair of damning reports released by the Senate investigators. Chuck Grassley and Rand Paul outlined agencies' inexcusable negligence before, during, and after the attempt on Trump's life, and what they called a cascade of preventable failures. Many of the findings were previously reported, but the parallel reports by the chairman of the Senate Judiciary and Homeland Security Committees offered definitive accounts of what happened and why federal agents failed. Here are some of the most damning. Security assets denied. The Secret Service denied multiple requests by Trump's security team for additional security. The agency's war room, tasked with allocating security resources for Trump and other officials until Secret Service protection, denied a request for anti-drone systems at Butler rally because resources had already been allocated for Republican Democratic national conventions. Additionally, the agency didn't provide a counter-assault team liaison to coordinate between the agents and local SWAT teams on the ground before that rally. In other words, they couldn't talk to each other. Thomas Matthew Crook flew a drone. He flew a drone around the fairgrounds to survey the scene so he could position himself on the rooftop and shoot at the president. The Secret Service had come under intense scrutiny as 1 year anniversary of the shooting. Even getting additional marksmen was a problem. It wasn't until senior officials with the Secret Service Office of Protective Operations stepped in that counter-sniper team were approved. These are the sharpshooters who ultimately took out that guy, Crook, whatever his name is. Senator Paul report found there were at least 10 major requests for more resources that were denied or left unfulfilled during this campaign. The threats against Trump's life kept under wraps. 10 days before the campaign, Secret Service officials knew there were related threats on Trump's life. However, the agency disappeared. It disappeared, the practice for sharing.
Yeah.
In this case,
they kept the information from the agents that could do anything about it. The threat likely came from Iran, which vowed to retaliate against Trump for his order to assassinate the top General Soleimani. The Secret Service had no process to share that classified threat information with partners on the ground. As a result of the impeded flow of information, the Secret Service's local law enforcement partners had not received the relevant information.
Yeah, because they didn't have cell phone reception, and they had all kinds of problems with the, whatever happened to the old-fashioned walkie-talkies? You know what I mean? It should have that as a backup. And the agency had no policy in place to protectively troubleshoot these audio problems they had.
The agency's anti-drone technology malfunctioned ahead of the rally and was being repaired for hours by an agent who lacked the training, knowledge, and support
It wasn't me.
necessarily to quickly fix the issue. During that time, Crooks, the assassin, flew a drone undetected over the site hours before the rally.
And they stopped him. They stopped him when he came in because he had a finder, a distance finder for a rifle.
Right.
And they put a tag on this guy, like, look for him. And really, you let him in? You didn't tell the Secret Service? This is ridiculous.
So the real question, we can go on about this, but the real question is, was this deliberate or not? This was to protect Donald Trump, who was running against Joe Biden at the time.
All right.
And was this a deliberate setup, or was it a cavalcade of errors?
Yeah, so we're 2 minutes over, so we got to go. We'll talk a little more about this when we get back.
The Dick Morris Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dick Morris Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the Dick Morris and Doug DePiro Show, sponsored by the Patriot Gold Group.
And just to add a little more to this story, Paul's report said the circumstances led to confusion. Crook was stopped. That's the shooter. The shooter was stopped at the entrance to Butler Fairgrounds because he was carrying a rangefinder, which is used to determine the distance to spot and for hunting or golf, whatever. So you know the distance, right? Although he was flagged as suspicious, at least 25 minutes prior to the shooting, he was still allowed inside. So right there's something wrong. This information provided to the Secret Service by the Pennsylvania State Police, according to Paul's report, was not relayed to Trump's personal security detail, who could have stopped him from walking on the stage. And that's important.
Yeah. Thank God we're doing this as on the talk radio show a year after the shooting took place. But this could have been the assassination of Donald Trump.
Oh, God. Inch away.
Meanwhile, Republican states are following Trump's lead on energy production. Republican-led states are passing legislative reform to develop energy infrastructure, like Trump suggests. As the Trump administration pursues domestic oil and gas production, red states, but not blue ones, are streamlining the permitting process for energy infrastructure and limiting regulations that hinder energy development. Alabama, Ohio, and South Carolina are just three examples of Republican states using their legislative power to unleash energy solutions. State Republicans are implementing an America First energy agenda that reduces costs for American families and counteracts the Democrats' restrictive policies that hinder our energy infrastructure. We're implementing practical solutions to lower prices at the pump and enhance America's energy grid. But meanwhile,
California raises gas taxes. This is unbelievable. California gas prices rose significantly after gas excise tax increased. Updated emission rules took effect July 1st. Gas is increasing by 1.6 cents per gallon, bringing the total tax to 61.2 cents per gallon. The state's low-carbon fuel standard rules are expected to incur higher costs, with an estimated increase of 5 to 8 cents per gallon at the pump, or even 65-cent hike in the short term. The study also found that gas prices will increase by 85 cents per gallon by 2030 and $1.50 per gallon by 35. The study blames California. Last November, I'll let this go a little longer. In November of last year, California Air Resource Board approved the updated emissions regulations to help meet the state's goal of 30% carbon reduction by 2030 and 90% reduction by 2045. The revived rules are part of the state's efforts to transition from gas-powered cars to electric. That's the problem. They think they're going to control everyone and what they're going to drive, and they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're talking about.
And while we're doing this, while California's doing this, and other states are implementing the Trump agenda, China is funding anti-energy technologies designed to weaken the United States.
I know. This is unbelievable.
A recent report from State Armor posits that Beijing is pushing green technologies to make the U.S. more dependent on China's energy supply chains, and that the foreign adversary co-opts climate change lobbyists to force a retreat from fossil fuels. The report cites the Chinese Communist Party's ties to Energy Foundation China. The tax-exempt nonprofit organizations
led by the Chinese Communist Party
are really operating as an extension of the Communist Party, and they shouldn't enjoy the tax protections available to charitable institutions. The pro-China nonprofit has funded research at flagship educational institutions like Harvard, University of California. The federal government also supported Harvard's research of creating a hydrogen lab in Texas to decarbonize the United States and beyond.
That's going to work.
Decarbonization is a political agenda propagated by the Chinese Communist Party.
But this hydrogen, I just did a couple of a little research. There's somebody out with a hydrogen engine that no combustion, no pistons. It's safe. It's really unbelievable. Anyway, we got to go. We got a hard break. We'll see you after the thing with Curtis is going to call in.
Yeah, Curtis Sliwa. Yeah. I'll pronounce his name after he wins.
Sliwa. No, you won't.
Welcome to the Dick Morris, Doug DePiro Show, sponsored by the Patriot Gold Group. In less than 6 months, the entire world has been turned upside down. There's no longer such a thing as the conventional wisdom or the status quo. The unthinkable has become banal. This is a piece I'm going to read you by Victor Davis Hanson.
Love this guy.
Take illegal immigration. Remember the 10,000 daily illegal entries under Biden? Recall the only solution was supposedly comprehensive immigration reform, a euphemism for mass amnesties. Now there's no such thing as daily new illegal immigration. It simply disappeared. How about the 40 to 50,000 shortfall in military recruitment? Remember all the causes generals cited for their inability to enlist soldiers? Generational gangs, obesity, drugs, private industry competition, and now in just 6 months, recruitment targets are not only met, the issue is mostly moot. Why? The new Pentagon flipped the old, canceling its racist DEI policies and ensuring that rural, middle-class Americans, especially white males, that they were not systematically racist after all. How about the end of the NATO crisis, supposedly brought down by bullying U.S.? Now the vast majority of NATO members have met their pledge to spend 2% of GDP on defense. What about the indomitable, all-powerful, theocratic Iran, scourge of the Middle East for nearly 50 years? Although it had never won a war in the last half-centuries, its terrorist surrogates, Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis, were supposedly too dangerous to provoke.
Yeah.
Now most of their expeditionary terrorists are neutered. The leaders are in hiding or dead. Iran has no air force, no real navy, no air defenses, and no active nuclear weapons
But
programs.
they were too dangerous to provoke.
Its security apparently depends only on the mood of the U.S. or Israel at any given day, not to fly into its airspace and take out its missiles, nuclear sites, generals, or theocrats as will. What happened to the supposedly inevitable recession, hyperinflation, stock market collapse, unemployment spikes, and global trade war that last spring economists assure us would hit early in the Trump presidency?
Mm-hmm.
Job
Early in
growth
the
is
summer.
strong. April's inflation rate is the lowest in 4 years. GDP is still steady. Stock market hit a record high. and trade partners are renegotiating their surpluses with the U.S. It turns out that staying in the U.S. consumer market is their top priority of our trading partners. Let's hear that again. It turns out that staying in the U.S. consumer market is the top priority of our trading partners.
Wow.
It seems that pre-existing and mostly undisclosed profits were large enough to afford reasonable U.S. symmetrical tariffs. For now, news of tax cuts, deregulation, drill, baby, drill, energy policies, and 8 to 10 trillion in potential foreign investment has encouraged rather than deterred business. Then there are marquee elite universities whose prestige, riches, and powerful alumni made them answerable to no one. And now, after the executive and congressional crackdown on the decades of hubris, the brilliant university presidents have resigned. Public's caught on to their great surcharge gouging. So the mighty Ivy League powerhouses are now humbling themselves to cut a deal to save their financial hides. What happened to the trans juggernaut of sex as a social construct and its bookend gospel that biological men could dominate women's sports?
Horrible.
People woke up. They're no longer afraid to state that sex is binary and biologically determined, and biological men who dominate women's sports are bullies, not heroes.
That's right.
Where are the millionaire scamming artists of the BLM now? Where is the DEA?
On boats and yachts.
Now, tomorrow, and forever conventional wisdom. They've all been exposed as the race hustlers they always were. They creed that it's okay for supposed victims to be racist victims. Victimizers themselves is exposed as an absurd con. So what flipped everything? We are living in an emperor has no clothes, make-believe. We were living in an emperor has no clothes, make-believe world for the past few years. This is Victor Davis Hanson. People knew the establishment narratives were absurd and the supposed experts were even more ridiculous. But few until now had the guts to scream, the emperor is naked, to dispel the fantasies. But when they finally did, reality returned. Trump's forecasts were proved right. Amid strong economic data released this week, pointed to robust consumer spending, Trump continues to take a bow for being right in the face of economic skeptics and Federal Reserve Chair's Jerome Powell failure to use interest rates. Too late, great numbers just out, Trump trolled in a Truth Social post. Lower the interest rate. Retail sales rebounded by more than expected in June. Total initial jobless claims for the week came in below the anticipated amount. The fact that consumers are still buying is a strong vote for confidence of earnings going forward. So basically, Trump is right and everybody else was wrong. The big balanced budget bill did not increase the federal deficit. It did not increase our trade deficit. It did not cause inflation. It did not cause firms to leave the United States. It did cause an influx of firms from other countries. So basically, thank you, President Trump. Yes. You were right on all of this.
And, and he's also sticking up for things, and he's suing people where a lot of times they say, I'm not going to sue him, screw it. The guy said he's sorry, this and that. And now he's suing Murdoch and the Wall Street Journal and its owner, Murdoch, right, for publishing a story about the president who wrote a birthday letter to Jeffrey Epstein saying they have certain things in common. Trump wrote on Truth Social that Murdoch said he would take care of the story, which described the letter the president allegedly wrote to Epstein and would later be convicted of sex trafficking. And inside the letter was a drawing of a nude woman. And obviously, Trump doesn't draw, first of all. I know that for a fact. I've seen him try to work on the murals I was working on. The Wall Street Journal and Rupert Murdoch personally were warned directly by the president that supposed letter they printed by the president to Epstein was fake, and that they printed, and if they print it, they will be sued, he wrote in Truth Social. Well, he is suing them now. The editor of the Wall Street Journal, Emma Tucker, was told directly by Caroline Levitt, who I love, and by the president that the letter was fake, but Tucker didn't want to hear it. Instead, they're going with false, malicious, and defamatory story anyway.
Trump has sued the Journal and Murdoch for $12 billion.
How much?
$12 billion.
With a B.
With a B.
Whoa.
Trump is continuing attacking the story's authenticity. Trump has completely flipped this whole Epstein thing. The whole focus was the Democrats were trying to say Trump is suppressing the Epstein evidence, and he wasn't. And they said, oh, there must be a lot there, and Bondi's covering for him. She wasn't. There wasn't.
No, she wasn't going to come out with it.
What Trump did was that the Wall Street Journal published a story saying Trump was conspiring with Epstein to cover all this stuff up. And he found that the letter they printed from him was a fake.
Yep.
Those are not my words, not the way I talk. Also, I don't draw pictures.
He draws pictures.
I told Rupert Murdoch it was a scam and he shouldn't print this fake story. But he did, and now I'm suing his ass off.
I love that.
And that of his third-rate newspaper.
Let me tell you, Pam Bondi, she said it the other day, or at least I read it somewhere, that she said, I'm not going to release any of this Epstein yet because I'm building the case. And she can't be releasing this stuff, kind of like what the Democrats do. Do we have time for the next one, Dick? Yeah.
Now, go ahead.
The millions of self-deporting illegals are self-deporting. Say bye-bye. Speaking during an interview with Fox News Wednesday night, White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller revealed how many illegal aliens living in the United States have self-deported since President Trump took office. If you choose, hi Rock, if you choose to self-deport, you can go back home. Wait a second. If you choose to self-deport, you can go back home. You do have the opportunity to apply for legal entry, and you're going to get $1,000 check, Miller. So that's kind of, that bothers me a little bit, give them the $1,000
check. How much it costs to get rid of them?
I know.
You're taking just a
right.
fraction of what we have to pay to throw them out of the country.
Right. It's still
all those lawyer fees and everything else.
I agree, but it just doesn't say bye-bye.
Now,
she's cute.
Yeah, she is cute. Now, remember how last year we talked a lot about the World Health Organization wanting to impose a pandemic treaty on the world?
Oh, my God. And he was going to sign it on a Wednesday, Biden.
And it was going to force the United States to share its technology with other countries, to give the World Health Organization 30 or 40% of its materials so they could enforce it.
And jurisdiction over all the countries.
And to decide what vaccines we could give.
We were in a bit of a panic, you and I.
What vaccines we could have, what drugs we could use to treat it. Yeah, curfews, closing schools, all this was powers the World Health Organization obligated to itself. But now the United States Department of State and Health and Human Services formally rejected the amendments. And the amended IHR would give the World Health Organization, would have given the World Health Organizations the power to order global lockdowns, travel restrictions, or any other measure it saw fit to respond to nebulous potential public health risks. The amendments now are dead. The whole approach by the World Health Organization will not happen. Secretary Kennedy said in the video, the amendments opened the door to the kind of narrative management, propaganda, and censorship that we saw during the COVID pandemic. And the U.S. can cooperate internationally without jeopardizing our civil liberties, without undermining our Constitution, without conceding any of America's cherished national sovereignty. So just incredible, unbelievable changes.
We got to go to break.
Yeah. But we have Curtis coming on.
We'll have Curtis calling in.
Okay.
The Dick Morris Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dick Morris Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the Dick Morris and Doug DePiro Show, sponsored by the Patriot Gold Group. Consumer spending has surged in June, offering fresh evidence that American consumers remain a powerful engine for the economy, even as interest rates are too high and inflation continues to ease. Commerce Department reported that retail sales rose to 0.6% in June, far surpassing economists' expectations of a 0.1% gain. June's gains were even more impressive given that May's drop in retail sales, meaning that June rebound reflects growth, not a data adjustment. Now, last night I spoke to President Trump, and I highlighted this story because it's really important in understanding what's going on. We've covered at length the often double-digit shifts among swing voters, notably young minority and independent voters, toward President Trump between 20 and 24, with some left-wing pundits speculating that the momentum would not last. However, with each survey we cover leading into the midterm election cycle, swing voters appear to be shifting rapidly away from congressional Democrats, just as much as they fled from Kamala Harris's campaign. A blistering new survey from Echelon Insights, fielded June 10th to 14th, finds that swing voters are shifting by double digits toward congressional Republicans in generic congressional ballot. Young voters, a group that's been causing Democrats significant heartache by moving toward President Trump in 24, appear to be on track to vote for congressional Republicans by a significantly higher rate than they did even 3 years ago. Same is true for black voters, same is true for Hispanic voters. But the big change is that, other than Hispanics, which is the huge change,
Absolutely.
is that the polling had previously showed that the Republicans had a strong advantage with Americans without a college degree. But now the polls have been showing a shift back toward the Republican Party among college graduates, perhaps burnt out by the perpetual chaos-stoking of the left. College-educated Americans are now turning back toward the Republican Party.
The long march is not working.
Yeah, and this is what I told Trump last night over the phone. The Echelon survey shows Republicans winning Americans with a college degree by 5 points, 50 to 45, a shift from 22 when Democrats won them by 6 points, and since 18 when Democrats won them by 12 points. The potential loss of even college-educated voters is a signal that the Democratic Party is losing support at all levels. While the midterm elections are still 15 months away, early surveys offer a look at how the midterm cycle could shape out. Democrats are at risk of continuing to lose members of the Obama coalition, young working-class minority voters, but they're also at risk of losing college-educated voters. A huge change. This difference between high school graduate and those who have some college has been a fundamental element of the political polling since the 24
I wonder where that's coming
election.
from.
Well, reality.
Reality.
Yeah. They're looking out the damn window. And they're seeing what's
they're
going
looking
on
out the window.
compared to what the Democrats told
Yeah,
them
but
would
how
happen.
come they didn't do that for the last 30 years?
Well, it wasn't true out the window. Now it is.
Right.
We didn't have we had illegal immigration.
Right.
We had inflation. We had the high unemployment.
And Bernie Sanders didn't say socialism. AOC came in and she says social. Now they could see.
No, all that is out there, and they see it's not happening.
Right.
And one thing about college-educated people is they're better informed than non-college people. So they look at what's happening and they see what's going on. Now, when I say better informed, I mean they're also more brainwashed by the establishment
That's
liberal
the problem
media.
also.
But brainwashing or not, they look at what's happening and they see that it's not raining.
And they see that they're not getting the stuff that the Democrats say, we're going to give you this, we're going to give you that.
Yep.
And they throw a bone once in a while, but they're not getting it. So, and at 25, great. And at 25, when that paycheck comes a little less and they realize all the taxes they're paying. By the way, we have Curtis on the phone right about now.
You know, I was mispronouncing his name.
He's going to call him
I was
the mayor.
calling him Curtis Silva, but his real name is Curtis Sliwa. But, Curtis, you don't mind if I just call you Your Honor, okay?
No problem.
Hey,
I'm
buddy.
here at the feast today in Williamsburg where they're going to be lifting Julio momentarily.
Beautiful.
Good.
How you doing, Curtis?
Well, we have a poll that shows that you have gained 8 points since July 1st, and Mamdani has lost 14 points in the same period. Cuomo and Adams are unchanged. They went up a point or two each. So you are clearly now the alternative to Mamdani.
Yeah, baby.
And I think that means that the voters have turned away from Cuomo, turned away from Adams, and turned on to Curtis Sliwa. And I think you're going to be the next mayor, Curtis.
Thank you, Dick. And you analyze numbers better than anybody in so many elections in the past for Democrats, Republicans. And when you get the pullouts of the most recent polls, where I am now almost neck and neck with Zoran and Cuomo, whereas Eric Adams is just, he's fallen. He's fallen from grace.
I told President Trump this last night over the phone. Doug, my co-host here, has been telling me from even before the Democratic primary that you were going to win.
I knew it. I just knew it.
And I didn't buy it until I looked at the polling after the election, and I saw that Mamdani was up, but that Cuomo and Adams were down, and that you were coming up. And now it's evident to me that you are very likely to be the next mayor.
You know what it is, Curtis? Cuomo, between the nursing home thing, friggin' moron, right? And then you got Adams that was, helping out Trump, and those people aren't going to vote for him that don't like Trump. And Mamdani, he's just so radical. I just knew you're the guy, and we need a strong guy like you that not going to listen to the idiots, and you're just going to do what you have to do. That's what we need.
On the wall.
We need you on the wall.
Yeah.
That's from the Feel Good Men.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Curtis?
Yeah, well, look, when you look at unfavorable versus favorable, as Dick, 69% of those polled have an unfavorable feeling towards Adams. He cannot overcome that.
Right.
55 have an unfavorable feeling towards Cuomo. He cannot overcome that. Now, Zoran Mamdani has a 15% favorable rating. I have a 35% favorable rating. So I can build on my vote. Everybody says, it's like everybody loves Raymond. Everybody loves Curtis. There's nothing negative to say about me.
Right.
I haven't sold out. I haven't been bought. I haven't had baggage.
You have been shot.
Adams. Right. And obviously I'm not a socialist, communist, anti-Semite like Zoran. So I think what's happening is the independents, which outnumber the Republicans 2-1, have broken for me. I have actually more independents now voting for me than fellow Republicans. And that's the pathway to victory. The independent votes are what will determine who the next mayor is. And you're talking to them.
Now, tell us a little bit more about the assassination attempt you survived, because I think people need to hear that story.
The strength that you have.
Yeah, well, back in June 19th of 1992, I was broadcasting in the mornings at the old WABC. It was Angels in the Morning with my wife, Lisa, at the time. And that was when John Gotti Sr. was on trial for the fourth time. The last time before he got sent away, triple life without parole to Marion, based on the Memorex tapes that the FBI had acquired, and naturally the testimony of his underboss, Sammy the Bull Gravano. So I would do analysis of the case the day before, and obviously supporters of Gotti didn't like that at all. And so they were threatening me on a regular basis. He had ordered his son, John Gotti Jr., the underboss, while he was incarcerated, while going to trial each day, to whack me, to make sure that I'd never speak again. And so on June 19th, 1992, they had their successful plot. They had stolen a yellow cab the night before and jerry-rigged it in a chop shop so that they had taken the handles on the door, taken them off, and crazy glued them back. Because the guy who had the contract to kill me, little Nick Carrazzo, grew up with me in Canarsie, and he told the hitman, Michael Leonardi, also from Canarsie, he said, don't shoot Sliwa in the head. You shoot him in the head. If you miss, he's going to somehow get out of there. So Leonardi, being the consummate hitman, said, you don't tell me my business. And the first opportunity they had to shoot me in the back of the cab because he was hidden under the dashboard, he pops up, and he fires right at my head, and this Scavone misses me. Goes right through the back window. I'm able to scurry about. He's firing rapidly. He's shooting me through the legs, in the abdomen, all through my lower extremities. And I was able to jump through a open window.
Wow.
I became a speed bump on the asphalt. They assumed I was dead, that I would bleed out. But luckily, they scraped me off the asphalt, threw me into a meat wagon. This is when David Dinkins was mayor. We hit every pothole on the way to Bellevue. I could hear my blood.
Is being shot really painful? I've never been shot.
Of course it is.
Tell me about it, Curtis.
Oh, yeah. The worst part was hollow point bullets. So
they
hollow
explode.
point bullets are meant to shred your inside. So even if you somehow survive, you will be impaired for life, could even paralyze you. And, boy, even to this day, so many years after, every day I feel the pain from those hollow point bullets.
Wow.
But it didn't kill me. Luckily, I survived. It was 2 days later. I woke up in the ICU. I woke up and I looked up to my left, and it was Ed Koch, who had been my nemesis. So I thought he had died and gone straight to hell without an asbestos suit. There was Cardinal O'Connor. He had the 10 best vestments.
I love him.
Last right vestments. And then there was my wife, Lisa, at the time. And that's how I knew I had survived. But it was a long, long recovery road. Another operation 6 months later. And it wasn't until 12 years later that John Gotti Jr. was indicted for the attempted killing of yours truly with Michael Leonardi, the gunman, and everybody else involved in that plot.
God bless you, man.
Just as Trump was elected president in part because of the assassination attempt, hopefully you will be elected mayor, and hopefully in part because of this. You have been battle-tested, you've been battle-scarred, and you have what they used to call the red badge of courage, my friend, and you will make an incredible mayor of New York.
I can't wait.
Thank you, Dick and Doug, for your blessing. Look, I know coming from you, Dick, you have broken down numbers in all kinds of elections for me years ago when you first came on WABC. You're like a savant. So for you to predict that I will become the next mayor carries a lot of weight. I heard from people all over the country that I haven't heard from in years saying, oh, my God, Dick Morris says, according to the numbers, you're going to be the next mayor of the city of New York.
Yep. And I have to give my friend Doug DePiro credit because he turned me on to all of this.
I pushed him on you, Curtis.
You know, Curtis, in the data years ago, I said you were going to get clobbered. You would get killed. You'd have very few votes. But now it has changed completely. And you know what? It's because you're the guy who has not been indicted. You're the guy who did not condemn 6,000 people to die in nursing homes. You're the guy who has not screwed up as mayor. And you're the guy who's not an anti-Semite, not anti-Israel, not anti-Zionist. You're the guy who defends the Jewish community. And you are going to be the next mayor of New York, sir.
And I believe you're the guy that, because the city is run down so horribly, that you're the guy that's going to clean it up. That's what I believe.
By the way, I'm the guy who rides the subways. None of the other candidates ride the subways. That's the greatest focus group imaginable.
Wow.
Once those doors close, you're stuck in that car, whether with friend or foes, and then you get the questions flying at you. And, boy, you better have answers, or it's going to be a long, long subway ride.
Good for you, my man. You're going to do it.
Curtis, it was so exciting to see your campaign and so exciting to see you increasingly winning. Just if you believe that a Republican can never win in New York, despite LaGuardia, despite Lindsay, despite lots of people, Giuliani, you now look at Curtis Sliwa, and I'll pronounce his name as Your Honor, His Honor.
Yes.
The next mayor, Curtis Sliwa.
I can't wait, Curtis. I hope we can go to the victory party.
It'd be my pleasure to have you there. And you know who we're going to honor when I get sworn in on January 1st? Those 400 civil servants that lost their jobs because of de Blasio and Eric Adams, because they couldn't or wouldn't take the vaccine. We are going to make sure we dedicate that inaugural day to them, give them full benefits, full back pay. If they want their jobs, they can come back. If not, we're going to make sure there are plaques up at City Hall to honor them. They were heroes during the lockdown and pandemic, essential workers, and then de Blasio, Cuomo, and Adams turned them into zeros. I will make sure their memory is never forgotten.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing.
Good. Well, God bless you, Curtis.
God bless you, Curtis. He has.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
I mean,
coming
God
on.
saved his life. What's God got to do?
I know. What else is there? All right, man. We'll see you soon.
I once was in a prayer group with somebody, and she said, "You know, I love God, but I really wonder if God loves me."
Yeah.
And I said, "You're brilliant. You're rich. You're beautiful. You have a great family. What's a God got to do?"
You know, there's an old joke. I'm sure a lot of people know it. There's the levees breaking in the South somewhere, right? So the sheriff drives up to the priest's house and he says, Father, get in the car. There's going to be a flood. And the priest says, No, God will save you. I'm a man of the cloth. And he comes with a rowboat, the sheriff, and he goes, Father, the water's rising. Get in the boat. He goes, no, God will save you. He comes in a helicopter. Father, get in the helicopter. He goes, God will save me. I'm a man of God. And he dies. He drowns. He goes to God up in heaven. He goes, God. He goes, I'm a man of the cloth that you're going to save me. Hey, I sent them in a car, a boat, a helicopter.
You know who first told me that story? Bill Clinton.
That joke?
Yeah, that joke.
No, it wasn't as good as
No,
me,
that
though,
joke.
was it?
I sent 2 choppers in a rowboat was the joke back then.
Oh, you had to ruin my joke. You had to ruin it. Hey,
So it was exciting having Curtis on.
Yes. Oh, it's going to be great. He's going to win. I'm telling you. I think it. I feel it.
Well, all of the alternatives are so flawed, and he has a real story that's worth telling. The story of how he survived that assassination,
Right.
And why he was almost assassinated,
Right.
for telling the truth about the mob. Really is his red badge of courage, and I think that it shows what kind of a mayor he'll be and what kind of a man he is.
Right. That's beautiful. All right. When we come back, I don't know what we're going to talk about, but we're going to talk about something.
It'll be fun.
The Dick Morris Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dick Morris Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the Dick Morris and Doug DePiro Show, sponsored by the Patriot Gold Group.
That was a great interview.
That was.
With Curtis.
I'm so glad we had him.
Yeah.
Going
Yeah,
to
it took me 3 weeks to get him.
Yeah. Well, you had to produce a poll.
No, but you know what? But you know what? To defend him, he was so busy with campaigning every Sunday that he wanted to come on the show. Even now, he's where did he say he was? In
Williamsburg.
yeah, right.
Let's go to Sandra in New
Hi,
Jersey.
Sandra.
Sandra.
That was the most powerful communication between both of you and Curtis Sliwa. I
Really?
was smiling the whole way. Oh, yeah, really. I'm telling you. And last night on Newsmax, Dick, I saw your commentary about predicting Curtis as a winner. I was so happy. I see and feel what you're feeling, and I feel that he is the real deal. I feel that he earned his way to get these votes. The others get donations. He doesn't get that. He's doing this all by himself. So slow and steady is winning the game for him, and I'm so happy. And I hope he's listening. I don't know if he is, but I had a thought that we don't do what Mandani does, give freebies, but we do have a child care tax credit that we give to mothers of children. Now, we all have pets, and we all know how expensive pet food can become. I know with my cat, I spend more on him than I do on my husband. I'm
Yeah.
just kidding. But
Curtis is big with the
but-
dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the veterinarian bill. So if we could save all our receipts, and at the end of the year, maybe Curtis Sliwa could speak to the city council. Frank Morano was on that council. Maybe they can do something where we can get tax relief on those bills.
Well,
What do you
I think the key thing here is that New Yorkers have said enough. I'm not going to vote for a guy who put 6,000 people at risk and killed them in nursing homes. I'm not going to vote for a guy who's a serial sexual harasser. I'm not going to vote for a failed mayor who let illegal immigrants be protected in New York City. I'm not going to vote for those
And he got
guys.
indicted on some
I'm
stuff.
going to vote for Sliwa.
You know,
Thank you, Sandra.
Sandra, maybe you got to look at having him at your club. Women's
Already,
Republic.
but we're thinking maybe one more time again. I am thinking about that. Yes.
Good. We'll go.
Okay, let's go to Joe in Brookhaven. Hi, Joe.
Hello, Joe.
Hey, good afternoon. You got me?
Yep.
How are you? Yeah. I want to go on Cuomo. How I feel, my opinion. He's got no life. The guy's a soulless, demonic gargoyle. You can see it on his face. He's done. He's a pathetic, washed-up old pervert. That's what he looks like, a sexual harasser.
He does.
17 more lawsuits are coming on his violation of Title VII.
And we, the
sexual
taxpayers, have to pay $500,000 because of his sexual harassment of this woman who worked for him when he was governor. We have to pay it, not him.
Can you
You're
imagine?
going to have to pay a lot more with all the lawsuits that are coming in. Plus, he's got a federal lawsuit still going, I believe, of him killing the 15 to 20,000 New Yorkers with his March 20th edict, putting them back in the nursing home.
Horrible.
I believe he's got 1 foot in, 1 foot out. He's
And the other on the
Of
banana
his
peel.
mouth or the grave.
Yeah. And 1 foot on the banana peel.
Yeah. I think the Cuomo is done. And I think the important point is that Mondami, people are learning who he is. They're learning that this guy's going to destroy New
Radical.
York and hates the Jewish community and wants to encourage global extermination of Jews. It's not going to happen. This guy is not going to be the mayor of New York. And the only viable alternative is Curtis Sliwa. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Let's go to Steve in Brooklyn. Yes.
Yes. In light of the fact that Curtis's poll numbers have been going up, as you said, by as much as 10 points, and in light of the fact that there was an assassination attempt on him, and also that President Trump became friendly with Bobby Kennedy in part because there was the assassination attempt on Trump, and Bobby Kennedy lost both his father and uncle. Maybe President Trump can now rescind his provisional backing on Eric Adams and throw it full weight if they can each swallow their...
I don't think so.
It won't be good for
I think
Curtis.
that Trump wants to help Curtis. And I think if he endorses Sliwa, it's going to hurt him.
It's going to hurt him.
I think that right now it's just where it should be.
Yep.
An ambiguous situation. And Trump has great admiration for Sliwa, told me this last night over the phone. But he's not going to make an endorsement.
Status quo right
will backfire.
now. That's right. Keep it where it's at. Because then all the liberals are going to say, oh, look, Trump likes him. I'm not voting for him. So we just leave it where it is.
Let's go to Larry in Brooklyn. Hey, Larry.
Yeah, I'd like to say something about the illegal aliens. Tommy Tuberville, the senator, was saying that it costs $70,000 to process each illegal alien. I don't know why President Trump did not declare a state of national emergency where he doesn't have to follow these absurd constitutional rights, which they really don't have, the full panoply of rights, but they being given Fourth Amendment rights, which they don't deserve. And he should just ride the MTA buses. The MTA gets $14 billion from the federal government for 4 years, and they will have to allow the ICE agents to ride the buses and pick these people off. And I'll tell you, they're all in Brooklyn. They've all huddled down in Brooklyn.
Look,
these
Trump
migrants.
is doing a fantastic job at getting those folks out of the country. Unbelievable. I mean, 1 million illegal immigrants have moved out, self-deported, without the government making them do it.
Wow.
It's entirely because Trump has forced several 100,000 to move out.
And Tom Homan is great.
And Homan is great.
He's fantastic.
And increasingly we're doing it. And, this is a cascading effect. Once people see Trump is enforcing the law, they stop coming. That happened already. Then when they stop coming, they start moving out. And they collect $1,000 checks for moving out, so we don't have to spend $70 million getting rid of them. And then they self-deport, and that's what you're seeing happening right now with Trump. At the same time, he's making the foreign countries pay for access to the American market with tariffs. He's stopping inflation, and he's lowering unemployment. He's basically a phenomenal success as president. People are realizing that.
Thank you, Larry. It was Larry, right? That was on the phone.
Let's go to Sean in Pearl River.
Hey, Sean.
Gentlemen, your show is just awesome. Curtis has to identify the neighborhoods where he's going to have big voter registration drives. Everybody could help out. And it benefits the country to contribute to his campaign, because if Curtis wins, people are going to stay in New York. If he loses, they're going to be leaving your town.
And Sean, I think there's a 6-1 or 7-1 match of city funds for your funds when you contribute money to Curtis's campaign.
The city gives you 6 for your
7
1?
or 8.
Not 1 to your 6.
Not you. They give the campaign Curtis that money.
Oh, good.
So that he'll have enough money to win, and he won't need it. It's incredible.
Well, he's got the right message, and he's got the right backing. So
and all the other candidates have basically discredited themselves.
Let's quickly just touch upon the Jewish thing that we went back and forth.
Yeah.
Now, Dick and I have been talking about the Jewish vote, and I keep saying, how do they go Democrat? I just don't see how it happens. And here's what we come up with.
Well, my friend John McLaughlin, the pollster for Trump, did 2 wonderful surveys. The first one, he said, are you of Jewish ancestry? Do you have Jews in your family tree? And 30% of New Yorkers said yes. And then he said, and what is your religion? And 8% said Jewish. So 22% of the population of New York are people who are ethnically Jewish, but not religiously Jewish.
So they're just like in the Elks Club. They're in a club.
You ask them their religion.
Right.
And they say they're atheist, they're agnostic, or they're secular, but they are not Jewish.
So a secular culture.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And this isn't true among Catholics or Protestants, but it is true among Jews. And when you say the Jewish vote in New York, it's largely a theoretical figure. The beautiful thing about the campaign against Mamdani is it's become clear that he is opposing Jews politically by opposing Israel and opposing Jews culturally.
And you're saying that 22% don't really care about that.
Well, they care, but they don't see it as religious. They see it as cultural. And you're coming after them because their ancestors were Jewish. And Hitler used to say that if one of your 8 grandparents is Jewish, you're Jewish enough to go to a gas chamber.
God.
And that's the test that the Nazis used. It's a test we should use. And Jews should understand that they are being subjected to that test. And if you ever thought it wouldn't happen here, look at Mamdani and the threat that he poses.
And so basically I was asking you, and we went back and forth with this, about how are they voting to these horrible people? Like a Mamdani. How would they vote for this guy?
The answer is they're not. They're not.
Yeah, right.
So when we come back, we'll talk more about the mayoral race and about how Curtis Sliwa is going to be the next mayor. I'll just call him Your Honor.
Yeah.
The Dick Morris Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dick Morris Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
So Sliwa's up 8. Mamdani is down 14, all since July 1st.
Wow, you actually said his name right twice in a row. Wow.
And Cuomo is unchanged, and Adams is unchanged.
Mm-hmm.
So Adams and Cuomo, people have basically decided they're not going to be mayor. And Sliwa is the one who's getting these votes.
What you said to me last night or this morning was, once the people decide...
Yeah.
Explain that, what you said. Because I said to Dick, well, wait a minute, they can move around. And Dick said...
once the voters have seen it and learned what's going on and paid attention, and they obviously have learned about Mamdani, that process will continue.
And it's this early, even though it's not that early.
It happens when it happens. It doesn't matter if it's at the beginning or the end. And the point is that they have learned that Mamdani would be a disaster. They've learned that he's horrible.
Have they?
Yes. And that's why he's dropped 14 points.
Okay.
And they understand that Adams was terrible, They understand that Cuomo was terrible.
Oh, God.
And they understand that Sliwa is what's left and is a good alternative.
And he's a
they're
strong
looking about
dude.
him more, and they're coming to like him more and more. And those trends are inevitable. They're not going to be stopped. And when people say they'll never happen, that, a Republican can't win, like they said, Trump couldn't win, go back to what the communist general Trotsky said. He said, the impossible is impossible until it becomes inevitable. And that's what you're looking at now. The impossible has become inevitable.
And you know what? I can't call him Curtis anymore. I'm going to have to call him Mr. Mayor.
Well, I have to give up trying
you
to
have
pronounce
to.
his
Yeah,
last
you
name.
can't even get Curtis out. I said that to Rudy years ago when I first met him. I said, Mr. Mayor, what's proper? He goes, no, please, just call me Rudy. And and for quite a few times I said, Mr. Mayor, Your Honor. He goes, just call me Rudy, will you please?
Yeah.
He's
Okay,
a great
so
guy.
go
Rudy.
ahead, Doug. What's happening with Stephen Colbert?
Stephen Colbert. First of all, I don't like him anyway, and I don't like his other guy. What's his name? That's on the other show. I'll talk about it in a minute. See, he's getting canceled. The Late Show with Stephen Colbert in a financial decision due to sagging ratings. The last show will be next May. Next May? In a year from now?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was like
They
next.
pre-tape.
Oh, I thought it was like next month. Shuttering one of Trump's most persistent late-night critics. Thursday's announcement followed Colbert's criticism of settlement between Trump and Paramount Global, parent company of CBS, over a 60 minutes deception editing of Kamala Harris interview covering for her word salad, answering during the voter period of 24. In his monologue Monday, Colbert said he was offended, joking the deal was a big fat bribe. Paramount and CBS executives said in a statement, the cancellation is purely a financial decision against a challenging backdrop in late night. It's not related to any way to the show's performance content or any other matters. You're right, sure, okay. Taking another bow for the poor rating of left-wing outlets and voices, Trump trolled his longtime detractors and late-night TV hosts, spreading political propaganda under the guise of comedy. There's no comedy with these guys. I absolutely love that Colbert got fired. Trump wrote, that's great. His talent was even less. Than his ratings. I hear Jimmy Kimmel is next. He has even less talent. Kimmel's horrible.
Yeah.
Right? Greg Gutfeld is better than all of them combined, including the moron on NBC who ruined the once great Tonight Show. I even said that about Letterman. I never liked Letterman when he went on to the Tonight Show as a guest host.
Yeah.
I should say it was just dry. But these other guys, they're just about this political crap. And if they didn't have Trump, they would have nothing.
A senior Israeli official said last week that the strikes on Iran most likely did not eliminate the stockpile of near bomb-grade fuel, but without the facilities to manufacture a weapon, U.S. officials insist the fuel would have been little use even if the Iranians can dig it out from the rubble. The new assessment creates a clearer picture of what combined U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran achieved. The bombing deeply damaged Fordo, considered by the Iranians to be their best protected and most advanced nuclear enrichment site.
Not no more.
Crippling Iran's ability to make nuclear fuel for years to come. So, of course, Germany, France, and Britain are calling for a snapback of sanctions against Iran because it seems that they have been pursuing nuclear weapons, even as the deal said no. But it now looks as if they're going to take this seriously. Iran is threatening to raise uranium enrichment to weapons-grade levels if Western powers move forward with reimposing UN sanctions.
Oh, hold on 1 second. Where do they get their uranium? Iran. They mine it themselves?
They import it, but then they enrich
from
it.
From who?
I don't know.
Yeah, okay. Because Trump's going to put a kibosh on that.
Yeah. Well, he's cutting off their money, which means they're cutting off from everything.
Yeah, sure.
I think that I think that's the other thing is the tech giant Apple is backing Trump in push for rare earth minerals.
Right.
Expected to announce a $500 million investment in the only operating rare earth mine currently owned in the United States.
Right.
Apple plans to invest $500 million in the Las Vegas-based rare earth mining company. White House called the deal a major win for the president, who has the foresight to make this issue a priority.
And more jobs.
The deal also includes building a major new cycling facility in Mountain Pass, California, which will directly reportedly reprocess materials from used electronics in other
Dick
Apple
Morris,
products.
It's been an honor to be here with you.
It's been good.
And it's been an honor to have Curtis on the show also.
Yeah, it has. And I think we've really given him a huge boost.
His honor.
I think that his mayoral campaign really got a boost today.
Good.
And yesterday I talked about it on TV.
And you wrote a column.
Yeah.
Read Dick's column.
I think it really has helped.
Okay, we got to say bye-bye, Roxana.
Bye-bye,
Roxana. She's so cute.
Thanks for listening to The Dick Morris Show. You can hear The Dick Morris Show Sundays at noon. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?